hall of the Canadian History Museum that was built in 1989 by the architect Douglas Cardinal. Cardinal used a lot of his First Nation identity to build the building. So you have a lot of shapes, you don't have a lot of corners because bad spirits hide in corners, so we want to avoid to have corners. So if you look at this, those represent paddle, and the reasons why the paddles are standing like this, it's because it's a sign of welcoming and peace. So you're welcome to the museum. We have over 16 monumental poles in the Grand Hall that are all real. All monumental poles are made with one tree. The ones with the boxes are different. Well, why? Because there's boxes. The boxes would contain the remains of the people. In this one, it would have been a small girl. And in this one, on the middle one, is the chief. That's why there's a lot of totems at the bottom of that mortuary pole. And on top would have been his son that would have had a short reign. So he would have died not too long after.
Oh. How come you know that it can be a small girl in this box?
Because it's a smaller box. And so a chief has a status, so there's a lot of totem and significance. Anyone else that doesn't have as much as an impact on the community will be more bare. So that's why all of the other totem poles are all significant of the status of the chief. And they represent their community.
So all this knowledge you're saying, that's something that only you know?
Me and other program interpreters. If we read around here, that's the legend of the squirrel.
Okay.
But it doesn't say anything about the fact that the box is for the remains. I tell people that it's supposed to have remains. The remains are not in there, but I tell them that the remains have been in there and they are back at their communities because they're respectful of tradition.
And how do you think, did you ever get like an overreaction?
No, people are always, a little bit shocked and they think that the remains are in here, but overall it's intriguing, it's interesting to see and how the cremation was done a couple 100 years ago.
My name is Gabrielle and today I will talk to you about this beautiful piece. It is called the Morningstar. It was painted in 1993 by the Venezuelan artist Alex Janvier. He was helped by his son Dean and it took him 4 months to paint it. And what is the Morningstar exactly? Like what do you think it represents? What can it mean? This is a question I usually ask to the visitors, and they tell me a little bit of what they see, the shapes, the different color. Well, the Morningstar is a real star in the sky that First Nations used to rely on to guide themselves. So it's supposed to represent some kind of guidance, but it also tells the story of all the First Nation across Canada. So it's divided in 4 quadrants, as you can see. The yellow part is supposed to represent the time before the arrival of the Europeans. So it's the era of peace, where the first people were living in harmony with the land, with the people all together. Then you have the blue part, which is the era of the arriving of the Europeans. So lots of changes in their way of life, lots of war, trade, diseases, lots of changes. Then we have the red era, which according to Janvier, the artist, we are in this era right now. It is the era of renewal. So the first people are reaffirming their rights, are fighting back to gain their right backs and their lands back on their territory. And the white at the end, well, you can guess what it means. White is for the peace and the hope for a better world in the future. I also know that every little ray of color that you see in the middle is supposed to represent a First Nations tribe across the country. And as you can see, every single color is unique, but when you put them all together and make this kind of united circle, and that's the concept behind that, is we're all united, like we're all unique, but together we are one. Also, all the little other quadrants that you see with all the smudged color in them is supposed to represent the clash of the ideas of the European culture and the indigenous culture, the Aboriginal culture. So yeah, that's the basics about the Morningstar.
Thank you. And why do you like this painting so much?
Because I think it's a wonderful, wonderful painting on its own, just for the colors, the shapes, like everything. I'm a very colorful person. Like I like Geneviève's art, and to add so much more of meaning into it, and the fact that there's even more than what I know, because apparently people see different shapes and different things. There's so much interpretation that you can make out of it. It makes it like a very beautiful masterpiece. It's one of those hidden gems, and when I do my tours, I have to talk about this because, first of all, I really love it. Like this is, I love talking about this piece of art. Question people ask me, and like, yeah, how they actually work this whole thing, because it's so huge and it's so well done.
It is pretty huge.
Sometimes I ask the visitors, what do you see in all those shapes and things? People name me, I see a hummingbird, I see bubbles, I see the sun, I see this and that and this and that, and everybody's free to see different things and have their own interpretation of the painting. When I say most of the regular meaning of what it says, people just look at it and they're like, oh wow, this is very genuine, this is very cool, this artist is a genius, but I wouldn't have guessed this is what it represents, with all the quadrants and stuff, but they can still see, the Morningstar, so they can make their own interpretation of it. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Gabrielle.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's my pleasure.